All right.
Hey.
Hey. Well,
Hey.
I'm sure, as everybody knows in the chat, there's a guy that runs a company that's based online, and we're getting closer.
Kenny was having problems with his AirPods tonight and steaming his shirts in the background, so I had to help him out.
I will say I have the shittiest setup out of anybody when it comes to like the background. It was mostly
not much better.
Well, I mean, so mine, like, it's all in this. I got all the sound blankets.
You got that?
Yeah, I got all the sound blankets. So this is the recording central, where it's not really supposed to be video focused, but it's like whatever. At this point, this room is supposed to become a second bedroom because it was the kids' playroom, but she doesn't really play anything in here anymore except the piano. So we'll probably get rid of some stuff and put a bed in here and whatnot. But thankfully,
when he comes in town,
you need to do the live. You need to do the live music of you playing the piano for the next intro.
Oh, unfortunately, it's not me that plays the piano, my friend. It is my daughter that can. I can barely play a triangle, so I'm not even attempt to do anything that requires something, with skill, if you will. All right. Well, talk amongst yourselves for a second, where I find our ideas for the night. All right, there we go. I was looking through my notes. I was like, what the hell are we going to talk about tonight? It was one of those things. I told my wife earlier, actually, she asked me and she goes, so what topics y'all talking about tonight? And I go, I can't remember. She goes, you must be really reaching this time.
Must be real exciting ones. Yeah. I feel like they're good. I feel like they're
it'll be a good show.
They're interesting ones. It's like
there's a lot of room for some good
of whiskey.
Yeah, good speculation coming on this one.
That's all we do.
It's been a while since we had a master distiller on the show with us too, so this should be an extra special show.
Isn't it amazing that we're gonna have a master distiller on the show every single time now?
That's big time.
This is number 77, the inaugural master distiller.
I earned it in those 6 9-hour days.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm ready to make some gin and some rum. Those will be my first 2 projects.
Excellent.
We've always talked about the dilution of the title, and it's like, you know what? Screw it. Everybody else is doing it. We're going to do it too.
Yeah, there's people that are source brands that master distiller, so I was like, fuck it. We're going to do it too.
I don't see a problem with it. Yeah, Jason said he liked the title change. I like it too.
I know. I was like, I need to show up to Bardstown and just like hit a button or something, and with Nick Smith and say I helped make this batch.
We turned a knob. I think that means something.
Yep. I think you just start as people walking in and say, hey, as a master distiller, I can give you the tour, or if you'd like somebody else to
or you can have my liquid advisor, Dan Calloway.
Well, see, I'm starting to feel overshadowed in this business a little bit, because not only is he a master distiller, but he's also a master blender. And I'm like, I own nothing now. So I've got to go and take a course on something so I can have a master next to my name.
Master spreadsheeter.
It's true. It's true. Ryan was doing some work today, and it was all by hand. I was like, listen, I'm going to fix this for you, so you're not doing manual VLOOKUPs. Literally on a piece of paper, he's doing VLOOKUPs.
He's doing like Control C, Control V, Control F, just nonstop.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not touching those cells. I'm going to mess those up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but from everything that we've talked about before, it sounds like the course was great. So
it was.
Let's go ahead, and I'm going to just go ahead and take myself there next time. So we're co-master distillers.
Oh, I see how that
You got to get that title. Yeah.
In fact, we might send
you'll
everybody.
be master distiller in waiting. I'll be master distiller.
Oh, it's going to be apprentice.
Yeah, you can mentor under Cecil.
I got another idea. How about this? How about anybody that comes to work for us, we send them to the course, and then we have like 20 master distillers that work for us. Yeah. We have like the only company with 20 master distillers.
They're all in waiting.
I like that.
That's a press release just ready to boom. I mean, I think that's What
Dave
do you go
be
through
all over
on that? I mean, do they get into like, I assume, running the still and barrel selection and?
Oh yeah, we make you start off and you make a rum, and then you do a whiskey, and then you do a gin, and then finish out with vodka. So,
That's interesting.
6 days.
and they teach you how to do RTDs and
Wow.
find flaws in distillate, find all the different congeners that you shouldn't have. And so, like, watch out, people. Whiskey quickies are gonna get real technical now.
Wow.
Yeah.
They already started. I was just like, Jesus Christ, I sound like just a really Joe Schmo over here. And now he's going to be sitting there just chopping it up with, Danny Kahn and Elizabeth McCall and stuff like that, and I'll just be cast aside.
Ryan's big time now.
You've always got the spreadsheets, though, Kenny.
That's right.
And you
got
guys,
you got those V lookups.
yes, until you're ready to graduate to H lookups, and then we're talking.
No, that's too much.
I know. I figured as much. All right, y'all, you ready to get cracking here?
Let's
do it.
All right, so here we go. Welcome, everybody. We are back with another episode of Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of Bourbon, and it's Bourbon Community Roundtable number 77. I was going to say in Spanish, but I was probably going to screw it up anyway. But it is number 77. And not only do we have me, but we also have our master distiller, Mr. Ryan Cecil, here with us too.
That's right. I'm this first master distiller on a roundtable. I'm honored and humbled, to be here. So I'm happy to break down any distilling questions you may have.
As Jason from the Mash and Drum is chiming in here, he goes, "At least you turn the knobs for the title. That's all it takes."
That's right. Just a few pressure relief valves, to make sure I get enough air, flowing through those plates in the column.
This sounds like the part of Tommy Boy when he's sitting there like pointing to the ceiling. Is like, no, it's like the rotary girder thing, right?
Yeah, I'm still on that level. I'm totally bullshitting. I just picked like a few buzzwords, out of my 4-inch binder, and I just roll with those. So people are like, "Oh yeah,
It makes you sound smart.
That's
I
right.
mean, every time we talk to Master Distiller, that's what they do. They throw around the word congeners, and we go, "Oh yeah, absolutely."
Oh yeah, condensers, vapors, and congeners, and I'm like, now I can be like, shake my head with 10% knowledge.
That's all it takes. Let's go ahead and let's bring the rest of the guys out here. So, Jordan, go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Jordan, one of the 3 guys from BreakingBourbon.com. Super excited to be here. Looking forward to a good show again.
Yes. And we'll go with Brian. Brian, you're next.
All right, just in case the mic doesn't work, right?
Pretty much.
Yep. So yeah, Brian with Sipping Corn, Bourbon Justice. Eric gave me the shout out for the new barrel head behind me. Growing up a little bit from the old foam core of the Bourbon Justice book. So happy to be here. Number 77. I think we do have some good topics. So getting ready for it, guys. Thanks.
We sure do. And the guy who makes us tardy every single week, Blake Reiber.
I mean, Reiber, we're on episode 77. It's Reber. I can't even get it.
Get your microphone right. I might say your last name
exactly. Yeah. Son of a gun, got me. Thank you. Always fun being here, and just making everybody sip their drinks a little bit longer while we warm up at backstage. So Blake from Bourboner and Seelbachs, and look forward to a good show.
For sure. And so, as we kick this off, I just took a drink of bourbon, so I'm like sitting here trying to choke it down as I was ready to just start going right there. But let's go ahead and get rolling here. So, this was one of the things that I was thinking of as we were trying to think of topics, and this wasn't anything that was in the news or anything like that. I kind of look at it from a cultural standpoint, and we have seen a lot of things in bourbon kind of come and go, fads and trends. They change all the time. And I kind of want to put this out there because we see things that have, and we usually look at it like an end of the year wrap up, or we take predictions at the beginning of the year. But I feel like we have already started seeing some things start fading off. And I kind of want to put it to you all is what are some bourbon trends that are we starting to see fading? And I'll kind of put the first one out there, because I think this is something that maybe it became a staple of bourbon culture for a while, but at some point the distillery started cracking down. And I think that we're slowly going to see the removal of a lot of stickers on bottles and barrel picks. And I say this because we have seen a lot of distilleries, notably Four Roses. We've seen Knob Creek, those ones that basically say you deface it. We're not going to do any more barrel picks with you. And that actually sprung up because I know Jordan, you all on Breaking Bourbon, whatever you all are on Breaking Bourbon, you all actually had a post that you polled your audience and saying, should we even do stickers anymore?
Yep.
And that made me kind of think about this. And that was probably a month or two ago when you did that.
Yep. Yeah. So that was last month. And, really it was for selfish reasons, right? Because coming up with a sticker idea is time intensive, right? The creativity behind it, as anyone who's been involved in coming up with a sticker, just really liking a sticker. So coming up with a theme, coming up with a drawing, etc. So we were a little bit just wondering, is our supporters, are they getting burned out, right? And in general, what do they think? But, it turns out more than half the people still liked getting a sticker. Now, about 25% of the respondents said I can go either way. But half the people still said, yeah, I really enjoy the sticker, right? It doesn't need to be super fancy, but I appreciate having something that helps me pull it off my shelf. When we really started thinking about and dissecting those answers, it really came down to, right, who's the core audience? If there's anyone getting a single barrel pick, whether it's through a club or a store or something like that, they're ready diehard whiskey drinkers for the most part, right? They probably have a large collection and they probably have multiple of the same bottle inside of their collection. So how do they distinguish between them? So when we started really dissecting and talking to folks individually and thinking about it, it made a lot more sense, right? Now, whether stickers remain as creative as they have in the past, right? And hopefully the fad of beyond stickers goes away. So now I'm talking like multicolored waxes, wax toppers, little army people on top of the wax, right? Hopefully those go away. But I think in terms of just being a whiskey enthusiast and needing something to distinguish your, your fifth bullet bourbon pick, right? Or your fifth George Dickel pick sitting on your shelf, right? What club did you get it from? What store did you get it from, et cetera? You still need something to distinguish it. So I'm not sure if stickers are going to completely go away, but they probably will end up morphing a little bit. So maybe they're just more informative, a little hang tag, a little just selected by type thing. We might not see these full crazy back bottle comic book pages on the back of bottles for stickers anymore. But it is interesting when we really took ourselves out of just being the creative and started thinking about from a consumer standpoint. I guess it makes sense.
Well, I'll jump in a little bit, and I feel like and I've been kind of a proponent of, I don't really like stickers, but we see people take them very serious, and in our system with Seelbachs, the sticker automatically goes in your cart when you buy a product. And then if it's left open, we'll see people just go buy one bottle and buy like 15 different stickers from. It's like, well, you're not even getting the pick, but you're trying to get the stickers. So, and we have people request them all the time. So to me, it's kind of like, it is a fun and interesting thing. And to Jordan's point, like if you've got 5 barrel picks of the same, brand or bottle, what's really your differentiator? And that's why I do kind of enjoy when people do a sticker that ties into that pick, whether that's the taste profile, how they picked it, whatever it is, because it gets a little bit, boring on the shelf if you've got 12 bottles of the same looking bottle on the shelf, but really they're 12 different picks. That's where I feel like I don't want to see them go away completely, because you can have fun with it, but at the end of the day, then people just take it too far, and it's like, well, how do you control it if you don't just cut it out all completely? It's hard to say, hey, just be adults by putting your stickers on our bottles. Distillers and brands can't really say that. So I get why they try to cut it out, but I do think you lose something by doing that. So
I got a question for you, Blake, as just on the retailer side of things. Have you seen sales increase or decrease just because there's a sticker attached that you would have to put in the box?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have I guess I could have hard evidence, but
I need data. I need data points.
In general, yes. The stickers do matter, because I think it's just one more tie-in for the person. And so, yeah, in general, it does sell better. We don't do stickers for our Seelbachs picks, so maybe that just makes me dumb, but most of the time, if there's a cool sticker, a sticker can help push a pick.
Yeah, I'll hop in, because we've done one with Seelbachs before, actually twice, that have sold out almost instantly. And this was our new riff picks. They're really good picks, right? Most New Riff picks are pretty good no matter who's picking them from, because I think they have a lot of good single barrels. But we did Riffler's Mom 1 and Riffler's Mom 2, too hot to handle. And I'm pretty sure those sold out almost instantaneously, Blake. And that was, we had people write to us afterwards, can we just get the sticker, right? We don't even want the bottle. We just want the sticker. It's like, okay.
So are people putting these on their own bottles to make it look like your pick?
We never get about the stickers, but unless you get a bottle.
I just sell them a bottle for double on the Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
Smart move. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about sticker game and stuff like that. But I want to also post the question to you all: do you see any other trends starting to fade away when it comes to bourbon?
I have seen 70% fewer crotch shots in the last 3 months because I keep a tally. I think they are. I don't, obviously, but I've seen a lot less, and that it warms my heart to see fewer of those. I hope that's a trend that continues.
Who can we? Let's go ahead and give a thankful to Blake here, because I'm pretty sure that he's the one that put something in the Bourboner forum. What, 5+ years ago that said you're not allowed to post crotch shots?
Yeah, that's
or unopened bottles.
When unopened bottles, but that was the way to get rid of them. If you're going to go sit in your car, I guess go ahead and do it. But no, I mean, it's like, how did that become a thing? Like, why was that? But you get tired of seeing it. I think on the trend side, I don't know. Is anybody camping out anymore? You don't see a ton of that. They are. Well, Jordan's nodding his head, so maybe they are. But it just seems like a little bit of the chasing of like Pappy and everything has died down a little bit. It seems like nobody's really selling. It's either a lottery or it's just going into special customers. So it seems like that has died down, but maybe it's just because I'm not running the Pappy map anymore and that type of thing. And then kind of barrel picks in general. I think a lot of groups are getting them, so it's flooding the market a little bit. So you got to really pick something good and unique and different, and just grabbing a barrel from who knows where doesn't really cut it anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Definitely single barrels seem to have lost their luster. It's like you used to get a single barrel, it was like you had to be like a special store or a special group that's been doing it forever. But now it's like anyone and everyone can have one. So it's like kind of like unless it's just somebody you like absolutely trust, like Mr. Seelbach over there and Jordan and Kenny and I and Brian. But it just seems like they're just not as excited about it anymore.
Well, do you think that's because of just single barrels, or has it just been a prolific amount that are just outside of the top 6? You think of the big 6; those are the ones that still continually sell. But now you have smaller brands coming in, and that is an easy sell for a lot of them, because they can come into the market and they can go, "Hey, I'll sell you a single barrel." I mean, we know that's an easy way to make $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 if you can. So is it just because there's just so many smaller and mid tiers that it's diluted that allure?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's a Russell's or a Four Roses or a Buffalo Trace, but I don't know. I've even seen like Maker's Mark picks and some like Knob Creek picks that are sitting around, hanging around. Some Bullet picks that are now sitting around. I've noticed at like party marts and liquor barns, and I'm just like, those usually just fly, off the shelf, and it's either maybe people are in a just in a holding or recessionary, or just kind of don't know what with the economy coming off the holidays, maybe tried January has something to do with it. But it definitely seems like that they're not moving like they used to.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we're also hitting a little bit of bourbon saturation too, right? So it's the same people buying all the single barrels from all the groups. Yeah. So it's like, all right, how
many can you take?
How many can you take, right? So for those listening, and clearly for the 5 of us, and especially probably for those listening right when this drops, we probably have larger than normal collections in most of America, right? But for other folks who are part of 1 or 2 clubs, they can really only, we talk about this all the time, how much is normal for most people, right? Maybe they can only have 10 or 15 bottles, right? And for most of us listening to that, it's like, oh, 10 or 15 bottles, that's nothing. For like most of Americans out there, you have 10 or 15 bottles of bourbon sitting in your house, that's crazy. right? So I think there's just saturation. They can only drink it so quick. They don't drink it as much as others. And like you eventually have so many, you're like, timeout. I just need a timeout.
10 or 15 from the same pick is what you mean, right?
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. You got to clear the shelves somehow.
Exactly.
I think one more tough one because, like, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to pivot to one more trend that I'm noticing going away, but go for it, Ryan.
No, I was just saying it's hard because you try to pick these and then like these single barrel things, and then and then 3 weeks from now, like single barrels will be hot again. It's like I'm totally wrong on this. I'm just swinging for the fences on something. I'm trying to because it's like we're always trying to find like, is bourbon tapped out, or is this is this the peak, or is it? And it just never seems to be the case, even though as much as we like to like try to instigate that conversation.
Yeah, and the thing that you mentioned earlier about Knob Creek and Maker's Mark, I think that's an anomaly because those ones have always been not the easiest to sell through. Maker's Mark is an easy one only because when you get a pick, gosh, there's 215 plus bottles in every single one because they fill that barrel up to the brim with what you have, and it sits there for a little bit. So there's no angel share loss you really have to worry about. So a higher yield at a high price tag, yeah, it's going to take a little while to sell that. The Knob Creek one, I don't know. That one actually baffles me a little bit because
not really. Because
okay, go ahead. I'm
well,
all
they
ears.
used to be 13, 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old picks, and now they've dropped down to 6, 8, 9-year-old picks. But hell, you can get 9-year Knob Creek for $30, whereas the picks are 55, 60. And I think the Knob Creek, I drank the Knob Creek 9-year that they just put the age back on. I mean, that shit's good for for the money. So I don't know. Maybe that's just my thought.
I mean, to a degree, but it also just is. I think there's a facet of it when you look at just more people getting into it and they want to get single barrels. But those people that are getting into it didn't know what we knew a couple years ago, that there were 13, 14, 15-year-old picks. All they know is what's on the shelf today. And so I think that's a little different only because they would come into it and they would see a pick and go and get it, even if it was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit different only because of just how, I want to say uneducated, but how unaware they might be from what used to be on the shelf.
Fair enough. Yep.
True.
Yep.
True.
We lost Blake.
Happens.
He'll be back in. Yeah.
He'll be back.
Pivoting away, because I just want to touch upon this. So pivoting away from picks really quick is just, when you posed this question earlier, Kenny, I was really thinking about it. And so barrel, let me get this right out front, right? Barrel finishing, still super hot, not a trend going away whatsoever. But when I started really thinking about barrel finishing, one thing really stuck out to me was the fact that honey barrels, right? And honey barrel finishing seemed to be like all the rage like 2 years ago, right? Even a year. I mean, everyone wanted a honey barrel, right? They were super hard to come by. Everyone was paying top dollar for them. And now it seems like nobody's talking about them. Nobody care less about them. Like everyone's just like, honey barrel, okay, whatever. Like I've had it, right? I have the one bottle in my collection and we're good to go. Yeah.
Wait, did you say there's one more Seelbachs release? That's a honey barrel.
No, I'm joking. I feel like that always somehow
always
happens to Ryan. Ryan bashes some. I'm like, well, but there may be one more.
They continue to sell out.
We've seen just finishes come in vogue, and then they roll right back out. And cigar Ambrana, what you want to call it, is definitely one of the most exciting. But honey, for us at least, definitely still does pretty well. But then there are some others where people are like, port, I've had it 1,000 different port finishes or whatever it may be. So that's kind of the hard part, because some of those I think are better than, you could get a poor quality honey barrel and it's not that great, but it's a honey barrel, so people buy it. And then you have like this white port finish that's fantastic, and people are like, nah, call me when you get the honey in. But that's kind of the nature of the beast these days.
Thank God the Tabasco finish never made a trend list after that.
Hot I don't know. Dickel was on to something. Dickel was on to, which, and really, you we probably had the same conversation 2 years ago, but what do you do next? And that was before, the cigar and the honey, but really, what do you do next? Although, so Virgil Kane did a cool one. They took a toasted barrel and smoked it with vanilla beans or something, and it was really dang good. But it's like, well, how many ways can we do something to a barrel that
You know what you do, Blake? You send it up into space. That's what you do.
That's what you do.
Put a webcam in it.
Space barrel.
yeah.
I think what you do is I don't know. I kind of see just good quality standard bourbon profiles coming back.
That sounds boring.
I know, but I just think I don't know.
Although,
I think it's going to come full circle. It's like we started here and we were like, oh, we got to go. And they're like, we just like our good solid bourbons.
I can't remember if I talked about it with you, Ryan, or somebody, but somebody was like, people are dying to drink flavored whiskey without saying
that's
it's
me.
flavored whiskey. Yeah. And I shouldn't have given you the quote because it's a good quote, but
it's like a honey barrel. It's like for years, Wild Turkey honey's been out there, and Evan Williams honey you can buy it for like $20. Instead, you're paying $100 for this stupid finish shit. It's like it has the same flavor profile.
It maybe just have a little bit more proof to it.
Maybe,
just slightly.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said. I don't know. I might have a hot take about the cigar blend thing because I think it is a very it's up to the creator of what you want to call it as a cigar blend. Joseph Magnus, I believe, is the one that pioneered this and really went through. That was Nancy Fraley, and it was, I don't know, 3 different cask finishes that went into it. I mean, hell, we're doing this now. Ryan and we could come up with something. It could be completely different. It could be port, sherry, amberana.
No amberana.
Okay, no amberana. I know Ryan's on a he will draw the line in the sand with no amberana. But we could put 10 different barrels and put it together and just call it a cigar finish and say it's go with a cigar. So a cigar finish, I felt like it's so
vague.
Yeah, and it's I just don't like it because anybody can call a cigar finish whatever they want. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah. Well, you don't smoke cigars, Kenny, to be fair.
Tell us how you really feel, Kenny. Just tell us how you really feel.
Okay, sorry. It's not that. It's just that
He said it was going to be a hot take.
Okay, I understand that. Like I said, I thought Joseph Magnus was there the first one. Nancy Fraley, that she kind of pioneered that. You've seen, and everybody in the comments, they're talking about Starlight and their cigar finish. I have not had the Starlight cigar finish, so I can't comment about it. But what's it to say that anybody just can't make up whatever they're going to call a cigar finish? And all of a sudden, people are going to gravitate towards it. I think that's a dangerous game to play.
It's the new small batch.
But then do you want them to define in legal terms the word cigar batch? Like,
no, I don't think so either.
It's up to the consumer to trust the brand, and like Starlight did a fantastic one, and they did really cool pairings with cigars. But that's not to say that some other, we won't throw anybody under the bus, but it's like, let's just toss a bunch of barrels together. But that's kind of what the world of bourbon is. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon when something gets hot, and that's why we have so many toasted variations of bourbon. And I think that's just, it's going to keep going.
So are we going to see the Pursuit United morning coffee batch? Or are you going to start the trend there? Just like, just pick whatever you want. Just there you go. This is
that could be the next trend. Your breakfast bourbon.
Your breakfast bourbon.
I already trademarked it, so thanks, Brian, for filing that this morning.
I did. It's in right now.
It's in.
Well, we're going to call it the brunch bourbon and just get around you. That's all it's going to be. But I mean, let's take this other way. Like, Blake, you did the French toast release. Remember when you did that? So who's coming to say that, like, oh, I'm going to add caramel to it, I'm going to add some other stuff, and I'm just going to call it the French toast finish? Like, would that not piss you off a little bit when you came off with something like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
all right, I'm getting
that's
that
why
one
I'm naming
tomorrow.
my next blend the Poor Man's Pappy, and nobody has ever. No, I mean it is kind of funny because I think somebody has done that, but I don't know. It's I think the real concern there is if somebody's flavoring, like if somebody said, all right, this is the French toast maple syrup, whatever. If they did just the same blends, it's or finishes, it's fine. But then if they're adding like caramel and all this other stuff, and they can get away with it because technically it falls under distilled spirit specialty, then that's where I think TTB needs to tighten up on the definitions of barrel finishing. But that's a whole other topic that is beyond this question.
Yeah, that's what I worry about, because it is so vague under that distilled spirit specialty. Like you can add a ton of shit, nobody would know, and you can just sneak it in under there. So I'm not saying that anybody of these are doing it, but who knows if they are or not. But I taste some, and I'm like,
they are
that tastes artificially too much like a French toast. It tastes like a Eggo, my Eggo on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like a legitimate waffle smothered in maple syrup.
And it wasn't the Seelbachs one. It was. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I know it wasn't.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think the finishing stuff's still fun. I do. It is cool. I think I'm gravitating more towards like traditional bourbons these days, but it is fun to like. I really like when you have like a base, product, and then you taste it finished in something. It's like that's always fun. I like that.
I do want to give a shout out to Jeremy, because this was hilarious, and they said if anybody comes out with the vape blend, then I'm just going to leave bourbon.
Ooh, I might be in it.
Yeah,
it's no longer a smoked. It's no longer a smoked finish. That would be funny, actually, if you'd said, "Well, a lot of people, they like to smoke their grains and have that, and we just vape ours." Ryan sits in the back and just ripping vapes.
I got a hookah back there.
It's not malted. It's vape.
It's vape. That would sell.
That would be my first project as Master Distiller.
I love that, though. That's fantastic. All right. Any other hot takes of where we see things fading out before we move to the next subject?
I don't know.
That got some traction.
No.
That was
good. That was good.
That had some legs.
That's a whole show, practically.
Yeah, that is a whole show.
Almost did. Well, let's keep going here. So last week, ReserveBar, which is mostly comprised of premium products, they introduced an RTD specific companion platform called the Get Stocked. And that is going to provide on-demand, direct-to-consumer shipping for most consumers tapping into the canned beverage market. Similarly, Drizly, they announced a partnership with Boysen, which is a non-alcoholic online retailer, to start selling its products. Plus, they also partnered with GoPuff to provide an immediate on-demand delivery of drinks. So I started thinking to myself, I said, now that this has become more prolific, I believe we talked about it in a past roundtable, talking about Drizly and everything like that. But now with Drizly, GoPuff, ReserveBar, and even Seelbachs, do we think that this is going to, and I didn't want to, the only reason was kind of like a tagline. It's like, is it going to kill the brick and mortar? But it's not going to kill the brick and mortar. I don't think that. However, I want to understand, do you think it's going to kill the in-store experience about how it takes about people when they find new brands? And I think that's the hardest thing to be able to come by. And that's just because people are always drawn to what's comfortable. So I kind of want to put it to you all. I know that the brick and mortar is not going to die, but is it going to ruin people from sitting there going, you know what? I don't need to go to the store. I'll just go ahead and just order what I know online.
Yeah, that's a very fair.
Last.
I think that's here's my take on that, right? I think that's a very fair point, Kenny. So all of us super comfortable just doing online shopping, looking at different things. I think when it comes to, and let me put this out there, 99% of my shopping is done online, right? If I can avoid a store for any reason whatsoever, I'd like doing that. However, when it comes to alcohol, there's something that I still enjoy, right, about going to a liquor store, especially when I'm traveling, right? But going to a liquor store, seeing what's new, maybe venturing into a spirit category that I'm not too familiar with, picking up the bottle, looking at it, looking at the label, and going, I'll give something new a shot, right? I'm going to spend $50 today. Let me see what I can walk out with. And there's something really tactile about me picking up that bottle out of all the other products out there for some reason that I really like. And I think as a bourbon enthusiast, right, as a spirits review writer, that's built into my DNA a little bit. I really enjoy doing that. But I think that probably resonates with a lot of folks listening to this too. They probably enjoy doing that. Now, for the average consumer out there who probably sticks to the same big brands, right? They like drinking Buffalo Trace, Maker's Mark, Knob Creek, etc. They only know a few different bourbon brands. They only know a few different vodka brands, a few different rum brands. And if they can now just get their alcohol online too, along with any canned beverages without having to leave their couch, yeah, that's probably a really great combination. They're probably going to gravitate towards that a little bit more. I still think alcohol is more of an impulse purchase for some folks when they're walking through the store and, you know, they're not in a strict control state and be like, oh, all right, I'll throw some beer in the cart, throw a bottle of alcohol in the cart. That's fine. But yeah, it's probably going to put a dent in consumers' ability to go to the store and pick out that staple brand that they would normally buy in person.
Yeah. So there's another comment here by Christina that says, I like the hunt. And so I think this is counterintuitive to what I think, that it's not really the hunt per se, because smaller brands, they still want to be online. They want to be on ReserveBar. They want to be on Seelbachs. But how do you get those people that are out there to find different brands? Only because, as we mentioned before, if you are just accustomed to the regular, how are you able to convince them to sit there and try our stuff, or try Buzzard's Roost, or try whomever that's out there, Foregate? There's plenty of smaller players out there that are trying to make a name for themselves, but people aren't just going to go and whimsically just buy it online and have it delivered, because that's not what they're comfortable with.
That's kind of the point I was thinking of, Kenny. You know, if I'm at the store and I'm going to look up Breaking Bourbon for a review of all of these new bourbons on the shelf, I mean, I want to try something new, and I didn't go to freaking stores before COVID, and I sure as hell don't go to regular stores now. But that's for, you know, razor blades or shoes or something. When it's bourbon, I'm going to go there. And as these stores, at least here, start opening tasting bars, I think that's going to help keep people in. I think there's that connection to the drink and to the community that people are going to want. And with those tasting bars in a lot of these stores in particular, and being able to try something, and so many damn options out there, there's still a place for brick and mortar. But I have to agree with Jordan that if you're just looking for your next handle of makers, because that's what you have always liked, I mean, that's what you're going to do. But you weren't the one going to the store to kind of look around and feel things out and look at reviews and try to find something else new to try.
Yeah, there was a stat when I was in Moonshine University. So they had someone talking about 60% of consumers go to a liquor store already knowing what they're going to buy, and that's all they walk out with. And then I think it was like 10 or 15% only will impulse buy, and then like 20 to 25 will get what they buy and maybe something else. And so it's like, and I think of like some of my favorite things to do is like I love going to Evergreen or Liquor Barn, and they have, they're on the bar where I can ask the bartender and say, hey, what do you think's new and exciting? So I think as a brander, so you got to get with those people, get the education piece. And I don't know how the hell you do that online. One thing I did notice, like with Total Wine, that was kind of cool when I was building like a wine tasting for my wife for her birthday. I was doing like a Spanish wine tasting, and I was just kind of researching different wines because I don't like going in there because sometimes, they steer you one way and this. So I was like, I'm going to go have my research before I go in. But I did like the Total Wine site because I like this Grenache or I like this. And then they would like show you the wine, and then they have like a little small video or something explaining about it, the story, to where the grapes came from, the winemakers, this and that. So I think there are ways you can kind of integrate it into the, the experience online to where it's not just like, oh, I'm going to get my handle of Tito's or makers and whatnot. Cause I buy online too. Cause I'll hear, Mash and Drum or Chad and Sarah or, Breaking Bourbon review something. It's not something that we can find, here locally, but only online. And so that's always fun too. So I don't know, that I feel like you got to integrate, something into your site like that. And I don't know if a lot of sites probably don't even do that. So,
well, when you just said that about the Total Wine thing, is it the reviews that influence you, or is there something else?
No, I think it was the story about the winery, or like, you know, it was like, oh, this one's from a small family farm, you know, and in the hills of the Rioja or something, you know.
So just the description,
just
like
the
whatever.
description. It was like, if you like this type of wine, and it would list like 5 or 6, and then you click on it, then it gives you a story about each one of them, and that kind of like, I don't know, it helped me romanticize my purchases, I guess.
That's kind of where I was going with it. Where, in my opinion, obviously it's jaded, but I think online and those types of things we're talking about are better for smaller brands because it's a much easier medium to explain your story. You know, you think about in the shelf or on the shelf when you walk in, you've got the bottle space, and that's it to tell the story. You know, maybe you get a hanger tag, and so you're hoping that somebody's either in there Googling it, finds a breaking article, or they've like just seen it other places and it just happens to catch their eye. But at least from what I've seen, online is much easier to do that, to get somebody interested in something new and exciting. Kind of exactly what Ryan was describing, where it's like, oh, they start describing the vineyards and the family that makes it, and that's really tough to do in a store setting. And you know, it makes sense that the majority of people that go in there for one thing. Maybe they grab something else, but in general, they buy that bottle they're looking for and they walk out.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's much easier to spread as a brand and new and interesting products, because just the online's a much easier medium to do it. You can show videos, you can show reviews, you can show, you know, stories, whatever it is. So that's where I think it's truly an advantage. Now, sure, some will be left behind because they'll choose not to embrace where things are going, and they'll just try to do it the old ways. But, you know, for smaller brands, I think it's something that they could really, you know, get ahead of bigger brands, because people always want something new and interesting. And I forget who put it in the chat, but they said, you know, who wants to drink the same thing every time? And it's true. Like, the days are over of the guy who just goes and buys his one bottle of Jack Daniels every week, and that's what he drinks. Like, no, like, not, and we're probably extreme cases of this, but the majority of whiskey drinkers today, I'm guessing, have a much more eclectic collection than the whiskey drinkers even 10, 15, 20 years ago did. So I think everybody's wanting something new and different.
I think, yeah, and those are really good points, Blake. I think one thing to add too, right, especially from just an online and in-store perspective too, is when do you plan on drinking it, right? So a lot of folks will, right, online's awesome, and I buy a ton of stuff online too, even when I'm not going to the store for stuff I can't find where I'm locally living, right? But I don't plan on drinking it that night. But if it's like Friday after work and you want a bottle for the weekend or something like that, unless you live in a major city that has like same day delivery, you're probably going to go to a store. So it also plays into like, when do you plan on drinking this bottle? Is it like, I need it for this weekend because I want to drink something, or I can wait a few days for it shows up for shipping, then I'll enjoy it when it comes in. Which I'm sure drives a ton of influence for people. Go for it, Ryan.
No, and that's a great point, Jordan. It's when are you going to drink it? Because that's a fantastic point. But I think too, one advantage online has, you know, versus, you know, say you have a brand rep or brand ambassador in the store. I mean, we've done it, Kenny. I mean, maybe 15 to 20% of the people are actually care about bourbon, you know, whereas with online, you can really like, you know, use, you know, cookies and all this stuff to like really pinpoint your customer and consumer to, you know, they're into bourbon. And then that's where that's where the online's nice. It's me as a consumer. I don't care about people having my data, and like, I want to be exposed to the things I'm interested in. And so like with that Total Wine experience, I remember, you know, just typing in a popular Spanish wine, but then they're like, if you like this, then you might like these also, you know, and that's like, I like that kind of, you know, side to it too.
And I also want to compliment Blake, because he also does a very good job of this. Every single time he either brings on a new brand or something like that, you always give a welcome email that says, this is the story behind it, and this is why you should like it, and everything like that too. And so you kind of give the rubber stamp of approval for Blake that says, this is why we brought them on. They're not another craft distiller. I'm just not trying to sell something else off the shelf, but instead I brought them on for some particular kind of reason.
Well, thank you to Seelbachs for sponsoring this portion of the show.
Just waiting for that check to clear. That's all.
Maybe we're waiting a little bit.
Just kidding. Just kidding. No, but I mean, all of this really makes a lot of sense. Only because for a lot of us, what we want to do is we just want to try to figure out: are we losing focus of what we're trying to find? Because a lot of people are out there trying to find new things, but it's really hard to find new things, especially when you're just comfortable knowing that, oh well, I know they source from MGP. Well, I know like MGP, so I'm just going to buy MGP. So how do you find something new and something that's different? And so you have to make that story resonate. And how do you make those people really start gravitating towards your brand? But there's a lot of ways to be able to do that. But again, I think that kind of goes outside of the realm of what we said, is that, will Drizly, GoPuff, and Seelbachs and ReserveBar kill the in-store experience? I still think that there is going to be opportunity always for retail to still exist. Brick and mortar will always still exist. That's why Drizly and GoPuff are there. But I just want to make sure that people are not just always being comfortable, and they have to be able to either rely on reviews or rely on something else to make them want to, push that purchase button, or if not, then go inside and hopefully there's somebody at the store that can recommend a good bourbon for you.
Well said.
Yep. All right. Last one that we're going to do, and this is coming from our friend Brian down here. And this is because I kind of saw what he said, but I'll let him kind of take the reins with it after this, is that there has been an influx of, there's always been festivals for everything. There's food and wine festivals. There's barbecue festivals. There's just been bourbon festivals. But now we're starting to see bourbon being inserted to every festival. And so I kind of pointed and painted a picture that said, are there too many bourbon festivals? Because it doesn't seem like there's enough out there. And I know we get a little bit bombarded here in Kentucky. Maybe we're only because you can find one every single weekend if you wanted to. But now that Ryan and I have been doing the Pursuit Spirits thing for a while, we're starting to figure out how can we get staffing people at whiskey festivals in all the different states that we're distributed in. I started doing the list. It's like there's 30 different whiskey festivals we have to staff across 9 different states. So, Brian, I'll kind of want to take it and turn it over to you to kind of ask the true question here.
Yeah. So I thought of this when I saw that the Owensboro Barbecue Festival, which anyone who's not been to Owensboro, go to Owensboro. They have some of the best barbecue out there. But they've just added bourbon to their annual barbecue festival. And I remember the one in November in Louisville, it ended up failing and they didn't do it. I don't know if they've really rescheduled it. That's what they said they do, but that was another bourbon festival. And everywhere you turn around, there's this other bourbon festival. So I guess it's opposite of our first topic of, trends that are fading. This is a trend that is picking up, but you lose exclusivity for anything, whether it's exclusive bottles or it's access to master distillers, because they can't be, like Kenny's saying, they can't be at all of these events all over the country. Used to be when you would go to some sort of bourbon festival, it was because you had that special access to special bourbons and the people in the industry. So I'm just seeing too many for the industry to keep up. And I think it's something that's going to suffocate itself. And maybe that's what happened to this one in Louisville in November. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, because we're even dealing with that, with the Bourbon Festival and Burn Beyond, which are the two like Super Bowl festivals, and the all the distilleries have a really hard time staffing both because they're on the same weekend, and and they've done a good job to balance it out, but yeah, all these other festivals have kind of been dumbed down, I guess, where it's and it's not bad, but there's somebody there that's maybe not affiliated with a brand. They're just hired help for that weekend, and they just kind of are there to just, fog a mirror and pour some whiskey out. And, that kind of loses its luster. And, that's not what you want representing bourbon. But at the same time, too, I kind of like it because these festivals used to not have any good bourbon. So it's nice that there's at least that offering there. And it's not just like craft beer or crappy beer and wine or something, So I don't know. I think it's I don't know. I'm torn.
Yeah,
So
I
I'll
mean, I see. Yeah, let me just jump in, Jordan, on that point from Ryan. I mean, I like it too that there's more bourbon and there's more exposure, but I don't get anything special out of it, and that's with so many
Yeah.
in between that point. That's where I think it suffocates. All right, run, Jordan.
Well,
Well, so
we have a different mindset, right? We're from Ryan and I were producers. You're a consumer, right? So we got to take it from different mindsets here.
So I'll give you the non-native Kentucky viewpoint too, right? Which I'm sure that applies to a lot of listeners out there. So I think bourbon festivals, right? Any festival add bourbon onto it, right? Bourbon and bacon, bourbon and barbecue, you name it, they're going to tack on bourbon. If you're in Kentucky, the bourbon that's probably being represented a little bit higher quality, right? If you're outside of the state, a lot of those festivals it usually means local craft distilleries, right? Maybe if it's a bigger festival, you'll see like a national brand or two. So from a consumer standpoint, eventually you're like, all right, it's right bourbon and you mean local whiskey, which I'm either going to really like or really dislike. So you have to do enough of those and you're like, all right, there's really no bourbon component. There's like 3 little tenths like the local distillery over there that you see all the time anyways. Right. So I think it's a little bit overplayed in some aspects, especially when you start getting into the states away from Kentucky. I think in my personal opinion, yeah, it's overused all the time, right? Every single festival wants to tack on a bourbon component, just like every single festival wanted to tack on a craft beer component like 5-6 years ago. It's just like overplayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree to an extent, but think about all these barbecue festivals and how that just kind of ties into everything. Like they're still ongoing. So yes, it's kind of everywhere. It's getting maybe a little bit saturated, but I still think there's a very big market that's still interested in them. I mean, I haven't been to a ton recently, but I'm going to say they're not going to keep doing them if nobody's showing up. So I think people are still showing up. How long that lasts, I don't know, but some of these barbecue competitions and everything that were extremely niched, 20, 30 years ago have TV shows and major sponsorships. And it's kind of like that's where I feel like bourbon fits in even more because of, just the history and culture it fits into, and everybody's always going to drink. Where I think bourbon has the advantage is, most people can find something within the whiskey spectrum that they like. Whereas craft beer, a lot of times it's like, do I need a triple sour, whatever? And that was kind of the stuff that was focused on. Whereas bourbon, it's like, oh, I'll get an old fashioned. It seems like everybody drinks an old fashioned these days. So it's definitely exploding, but I still wouldn't put it in like our first category of things that even will start dwindling down in the next 3 to 5 years. I still think there's some time.
Americans like to be entertained,
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
We're all fighting for eyeballs.
We're all just looking at for experiences, it's like, and bourbon fits right in there. It makes an experience out of everything. Cause you have that, like a cool cocktail or a cool story, brand story, this or that, just kind of, it's not just drinking Tito's and soda. It's or a Miller Lite, from the church picnic. It kind of helps elevate the experience for everyone.
Yeah. And so the other thing that I thought about when you were thinking about this is, Brian, we mentioned that you come from an angle of the consumer, which is probably most people on here. And I remember hearing a lot of complaints from Kentucky Bourbon Festival this past year because a lot of the big producers, your big six, well, they weren't serving any LTOs or any kind of, there wasn't Parker's, there wasn't Michter's 10, there wasn't whatever that they were serving at the festival. So people felt cheated. And I thought that was, well, I mean, actually it worked pretty well for us because we were like, oh, we'll take you over here. But
it did work for us. So.
But people said they felt cheated. And I was just thinking, wow, is this where we're at now? That anytime you have a bourbon festival that you would expect that there's going to be this very high end, very limited edition, all the master distillers are going to be there, whatever. I think that's a very hard to sit there and say, oh, we can dedicate all that to all these whiskey festivals we're going to go to. I don't know. I think you got to start trying to figure out how do we pick and choose exactly what we're going to do. So that's the hard thing from a producer standpoint of like, how do you appease all these people from around the country? Because you don't have those types of bottles that you can just willy-nilly just go, hey, let's go send this to the other 20 festivals that are happening in Texas this year too.
Yeah, but that used to be the big selling point for us in the Bourbon Festival was like you knew you could go to Heaven Hill, you knew you could go to Willett, you knew you could go to Four Roses and get those limited editions, at least even have a chance. And now it's not even like a possibility, really.
And that was my point on the lack of exclusivity. I mean, you're not getting those people, you're not getting those pours. And that's to me kind of maybe just because I remember, just like a Louisville Bourbon Society meeting in 2013, Jim Rutledge comes and he brings the 2013 limited edition and is pouring it. I mean, whenever there was anything like that, you got something special. And you can't get that. As a consumer, I recognize you can't get that, and you're not going to be able to send the people or the limited editions to all these places. But that's kind of what made it special. I like barbecue well enough. I'll go to Owensboro just for barbecue. I don't know that I need it tied in with bourbon.
Yeah, that's true. It does seem like you notice this across not just bourbon, but anything really, that the more mass popularity it begins, the more dumbed down it gets. And so I think it's just unfortunately a natural progression of like things becoming popular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. I remember. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
It's funny. I remember a couple of years ago. I think it was Denny, the old Heaven Hill Master Distiller. What's his name? Why am I blanking on that?
Denny Potter.
Denny Potter was like, you used to go to these tastings and you'd start talking and you're like, well, bourbon has to be 51% corn. And he's like, and now people are asking me like, what type of oak? How old is the oak? How long is it air dried? All these very nuanced and particular questions. And it almost seems like we'll probably get back to that point within the next 5 to 7 years of it's back to here's what bourbon is. Bourbon is, and that's where I think a lot of enthusiasts will stop going, but it's got the mass appeal at that point. So could be interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, all these are really good takes on the entire ecosystem of what we see, and be interesting to see. I mean, for us personally on the Pursuit Spirit side, whiskey festivals are amazing. They're great because it is an opportunity for us to get our core products in front of new people who have never seen us before, never heard us before. And actually, that's what I hope for. There has been and don't be wrong, the big six and the major distilleries out there, they have owned the market share, they have owned the mind share for the all the time. And whenever there's a new release or there's a press release of like, oh my God, we're taking this new product and now it's barrel proof. Boom, headlines, New York Times, whatever it is. Like they own everything and people get so just enamored with it and they get so sucked up by it that they forget that oh my gosh, there's 40,000 other whiskey brands that are out there on the market that are spread across the entire United States. And I really hope that the whiskey festivals allow people to come and just try things that just aren't from the big six. Because, yeah, I understand it's cool to get some barrel proof expression of some one off that you might have not had from one of them because it was hidden in a back part of the warehouse. And now you get something cool. But hopefully you find something that is brand new and interesting that you can latch onto and find a new brand that you can go and support as well. I mean, that's me being selfish and thinking about it, but hopefully that's one thing that we can kind of see as a silver lining into this as well.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
Well, it made me think. As soon as I get the Bernheim barrel proof, I'm going to put that up to the Bourbon Community Roundtable Old Elk barrel strength weeded whiskey, and
I like it.
It's going to be tough for Bernheim to beat that. So,
yeah, that's a good one.
I'm ready for that.
Just make sure it's blind. Okay, we've already learned this week that Pursuit United beats Weller Foolproof, Brian. So if you can do that, then we're okay.
I'll do it blind.
Yeah. One final thought on that, Kenny, is that I think this is just shows there's an opportunity, and you see it with wine. Is like the common. Gosh, here I go again with this damn common drinker phrase, but
It's okay.
It's like wine that people just, they'll go to Napa and go to like Robert Mondavi or Louis Martini or, the big famous wineries, but the true like people that are looking for something, and I think that's happening in bourbon. They're looking for something interesting, unique from a smaller producer that they can connect with, and be like, oh, I met with the owner, and this that the same thing that happened with Brian and Jim Rutledge. Well, now I can meet with you, Brian, and I'll bring you some barrel samples of what we got, and it'll be special, and you'll remember that. And anyways, I think that there's an opportunity that the big six have become so mainstream and so popular that I think that it's a good opportunity for mid to small size brands that are putting out quality stuff to make a name for themselves, because I think people will look, they'll the big six will get them there, but to hang around, I think they'll have to look at the smaller producers to keep them interested.
Well, fellas, I think that's going to wrap everything up for tonight, unless there's anything else you want to chime in about.
It was good. I liked it, guys.
Super Bowl predictions. Are we gonna, throw those out, or
the which one?
Gambling Super Bowl predictions.
I'll take the Eagles.
I'll take Carolina.
I'll take the Jaguars in 2024.
Bengals 2029.
Yeah.
At some point they'll get there. All right, well, fellas, this is an amazing show. I think we took some good topics and went in a bunch of different directions. We touched on a lot of good things, not only just from producers to retailers to consumers. I think we hit on a lot of great aspects that people can really relate with as well. But let's go ahead and let's close it out. We'll go backwards from the way we were. So Blake, you go first.
Yeah, so I'm Blake from Seelbachs and Bourboner. Always fun, always exciting, and I felt like these were great questions. So it's great to always hear everybody's opinion. And so thank you for everyone who listened. And you can find me at blake@seelbachs.com or just seelbachs.com.
Oh, and he answers every single email timely within like 20 minutes. So just go ahead, just let him know.
I hit like a solid 95%. If it's other than that, I do apologize.
At all hours of the day.
So fast. Yeah.
And if you say something so off the wall, he's gonna screenshot it and send it to us. So just be aware of that as well.
Mainly if you send me something extremely angry and derogatory. That's the only ones that get screenshot. You just say something off the wall, it's fine. But if you say like you hope I die and I like my pet dog dies, that's getting screenshot 100%.
Yeah, and as bad as it sounds, we've seen those before. So just make sure you be nice to Blake. He does a good job. He does good things. All right,
Sponsored
Brian.
by Seelbachs.
There you go. .com.
Oh yeah, we need a little logo, not a logo, a little link,
jingle.
Jingle. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Seelbachs. All right, Brian with Sippin' Corn, Bourbon Justice. Find me the socials at Sippin' Corn. This is a fun one, guys. And I'm really looking forward to that wheated whiskey. Maybe everyone says rye. Maybe it's going to be wheated whiskey is the next big thing. So see everybody next time.
You got to do it the hard W though, the hard W and H, the wheated whiskey.
Wheated whiskey, the double W.
Yes. Jordan.
Yeah, this is Jordan from BreakingBourbon.com. Always happy to deliver all your bourbon review needs, but more importantly, always happy to be part of the show. So thanks for having us once again, fellas. It's a good time.
Oh, for sure. And Ryan, before we leave, we have to give Jeremy another kind of round of applause here because he said that we should come out with the Jewel Pod blend, right?
The winter mint.
I mean, cigar batch isn't enough. We got to take it up one level.
Yeah, they got some kind of flavor we can roll with. Somebody will buy it.
Methanol bourbon. Mm-hmm.
I'd say so. But that is going to do it for this week. Guys, this was an amazing show. I hope you all enjoyed it. We'll be back with another, in 3 to 4 weeks with another Bourbon Community Roundtable. And guess what? You know what the next time we're going to be on here for?
Blake's microphone reveal.
No. If my calendar is correct, hold on. I'm going to say it before I screw up. I don't think is it Valentine's Day when we actually record?
Well, no, that's on a Tuesday, that's next week.
I don't know if I get hall pass for that one.
Well, wait, you all celebrate Valentine's Day? No, I'm just kidding. But the next one, Bourbon Community Roundtable number 78, will be episode number 400 of Bourbon Pursuit.
Ooh,
So
congrats.
really looking forward to having you all here.
We need to celebrate.
Congrats.
Can't wait.
But don't say congrats yet. We haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
Still working on it.
4 more weeks. A lot could happen between now and then.
There's a lot of shit that could go wrong.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. But with that, cheers, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Toodles.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And we're out.
Boy, you guys are hitting 400. We're
good.
hitting our 1,000th review next Tuesday.
1,000 reviews. Holy shit.
1,000th full review. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
Wow.
Wow. And
Don't
how
say
many of
crazy.
those are yours versus the other guys?
Versus Eric.
I have that stat. I keep track of all that stuff.
I bet.
I bet you do.
I am the majority review.
So who is it?
So,
Woo-hoo.
not just
It's how the percentage breaks down. It's like the more you write, the
Yeah,
more the more the pie changes.
you know.
And what is your highest number click on a review?
Ooh,
Oh, the top
Ooh.
10 something.
it's got to be.
No,
like
he
the
said review.
The review.
It's
I'll
gotta
have to go back and
be-
pull it up,
yeah.
but I'll tell you what, it's probably, if I had a guess off the top of my head, maybe like
Antique
a Buffalo
collection.
Trace. No, like a Buffalo Trace, maybe. I mean, that
Wow, just a
people,
Buffalo Trace.
the American consumers like Buffalo Trace flat out. Like
Yeah.
every
I was
week,
gonna say,
there's just
probably
a,
like just a
probably clicked on review.
Blanton's. There's going to be 500 people a day that just Google
search it up.
Blanton's and
It's
the core people still. I mean, the average consumer still wants, and the majority of the readers, right, are people sitting in a liquor store deciding what to buy, and it is the core distilleries that
Yep.
people want. They want Buffalo Trace, they want Knob Creek, they want Maker's Mark.
Did you guys see
and-
the post a couple days ago of our Buffalo Trace bottle
yeah.
No,
back in the day?
Wait, the
I still
Roundtable one?
have.
Someone went to
Yeah,
his
I
brother's
still
and he
have
still
one
had
there
one, so
somewhere.
he was doing a pour of it. It's like,
You know
Oh,
what
I
I
didn't
still
see
have a
that.
lot of is that beer because I think I would have died had I drank more than 2 in a year.
Oh yeah, I have like 3 because I drank one by myself one night. And
no,
bad.
you
it
don't
was-
do not do that.
That's a fun night right there. Bad morning, but
It's,
fun
I
uh,
night.
only have 2 of them left. That's
It was
about
Blackout
it.
got one
City.
left.
Left too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's aging really well though.
Okay,
Mine-
I think we
So there's
all-
actually
next time
somebody
we're
that
all
told me
together-
this. Sorry, somebody that told me this, that our beers were actually canned by one of the owners, and he made meticulous, careful like decisions to make sure that there was no air in there whatsoever, so
Ah.
it would age very, very well, and that it wouldn't go bad.
That's
so
awesome.
So those are.
So I don't need to be worried about that one that I still have in the back.
Nope. Sounds
No.
like you're still straight for.
You can have my. I have 3, Brian.
I'll wait. Hold on. Let's just get together and let's drink them all.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
It's
like
like a
a
party.
agree.
It's like a
Put
party
it
night
at
out of it.
Palooza.
I can do Palooza. Oh, speaking of Palooza, if
Yeah.
you all want to come, June 9th and 10th is what it's going to be. So of course you all are open to come and join with whatever event you want to come to. I'll send you a message and let you know exactly what events we have going on.
awesome.
More than happy to just
Yeah.
join with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll,
yeah,
uh,
we'll have at
I'm
least
in,
one of us
thanks.
down there for
Yeah.
sure.
It's a fun time.
I'm
We
in.
got,
Send
we got
Eric,
a
I'll
big.
get my hoodie
One
back.
last year.
Will there be Master Distiller signings?
well, there'll be one.
Maybe
I can tell you
well,
that.
maybe photo ops too with Master Distillers. Yeah.
Just one Master Distiller.
Hey, I'll bring you some failed experiments too.
That's what makes you a master.
That's right.
Mhm.
Is it going to be like last year with the different stops and everything, or are you going to try to do like a one bigger spot? And
So I'll give you the breakdown. I haven't even released this yet to our Patreon community, so they're listening.
if
that
they're
they
still
will
listening,
know
they
about.
deserve the knowledge.
Yeah.
that's right.
So this is the tentative plan. So we're starting earlier on Friday. So it's a 9:30 a.m. start. Bus leaves at 10 a.m. The first stop, should I say, the buses have to split because everything we're doing, we can't send 108 people to one spot,
Mhm.
so we have to split both buses up.
Yep.
So bus 1 goes to Brown Forman Cooperage and does a whole
Nice.
Cooperage tour, which is kind of cool because a general public just can't take a Brown Forman Cooperage. I think the only people that offer it are Mint Julep Tours. So we're able to do that for them. And then the other bus goes to the Fraser History Museum. And so at the Fraser History Museum, of course, if you've been there, it's the first stop, the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. A lot of cool old bottles. Plus, what you'll get is a guided tasting by either Ryan or I. And they bring in all 4 expressions, we'll bring in some barrel samples, we'll bring in something to kind of keep it fun and interesting and whatnot. And then there'll be a lunch that's served there, but at some point the buses swap, and then the buses will come all the way back to the Fraser. I'm still waiting for some confirmations, but I'm hoping to have a Sagamore RTD happy hour on the roof from that afternoon.
Nice. So yeah, on Fraser's rooftop is pretty cool. If y'all haven't been up there, Brian probably has, but
I haven't been to that rooftop.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, it's awesome.
No, I've heard good stuff.
Yeah. So we have the RTD happy hour on the roof. Then we go down, get in the buses, and we go to this place called the Greenhouse at Zeppa's. They have got 2 floors of a bunch of stuff. They've got ping pong, pool tables, foosball, outdoor games, fire pits, picnic tables, you name it. And it's just kind of an outdoor hang space. But what we've done this year is we've invited about 10 to 14 different bourbon brands to come and sample their whiskey. So they can come. We've got so far confirmed
another bourbon festival. Brian.
It is yet another bourbon festival.
Yeah,
but this time
I would have talked about bourbon festivals.
Whoops.
But I will say with this one, what I tried to do is I tried to find brands that are emerging, so people just don't get caught up in the big ones. Not to say that they're bad. It's just like, how do we provide some sort of just something to be able to, like, people can go find something new and different. So we've had confirmed so far, like Blue Run, Buzzard's Roost, Four Gate. There's about 4 or 5 others that are confirmed so far. So I'm waiting for some more that are Woodinville. So more of those will come in, of just basically having more people go try that. And so not only is that, we're going to have, and plus there will be 2 different food trucks there. So all you can eat out of the food trucks and everything like that as well. And then the next day, it's not a 9 a.m. start. So we're letting people sleep in. You can go and do a tour.
After outer space.
That's on Saturday. And then and then you got then get a big brunch or something, because we're going to be on the bus from 12 to 1, and it's a Versailles day. So again, we have to split the buses. So first bus is going to go to Castle and Key, where you're going to get a 1.5 hour tour of the grounds from a descendant directly from E.H. Taylor. I can't remember his name, but it's not Bo Beckman. But there is somebody there that is part of Castle and Key staff that knows everything about it. And then the other bus is going to go to Blackwood Stables, which is the home of 2019 Kentucky Derby winner Country House. And you'll be able to go and see a real Kentucky thoroughbred horse racing farm.
It's
be able to
cool.
see that.
We've been there, yeah.
Plus, they actually have their own bourbon. So you get to go and taste their own bourbon as you sit there and tour the grounds and kind of like see the track and everything like that.
It's a packed agenda.
Then after
that,
wait, there's more. But there's more.
There is more. Then after that, you are going to go to the newly designed Woodford Hotel, which is by somebody in the chat right here, Eric Carrico. It's Eric Carrico's hotel.
Oh, cool.
And so I think it's like a 10 or 14 room designed hotel, and you can go to his website. You can go and look at the Woodford Hotel, and they all have different themes. So you have like the E.H. Taylor room, the Four Roses room, and all this other kind of stuff. But Ryan and I will be supplying all the bourbon for that night. So we'll bring all of our bourbon. Plus, it will be fully catered by Rolling Oven Pizza Company. And so there'll just be pizzas just coming out the entire night. And then you get on the bus and head back home. And that is Police 23.
Seelbachs.
Wow.
It's when the Seelbachs after party at outer space.
Yeah, Seelbachs sponsored after party at outer space. Oh yeah, there you go.
I sponsor all parties at Expo, and
if you buy that drink for me one more time, Blake, I'll kill you.
What was it?
My taste buds are still ruined.
Oh man, that thing is great. That's my new favorite. I'll buy what they call them, acid something or others, or it was
yeah,
it's like this.
My palate.
I don't know about that.
Flour, you chew on it and like makes everything taste different. So like you chew it and like what was sour is now sweet, and That's crazy.
Basically burns your tongue off, and then it's
Cool. Yeah, good.
I bought them for
terrible.
Good.
I bought them for Ryan and Dan Calloway just to see the reactions.
And we're like, no, it can't ruin our money makers.
Yeah.
It can't be a master blender, master distiller with that.
Heck no.
Did you insure your
All
tongue,
right,
Ryan?
I'm going to bed. Yeah, you should.
You should insure
Yeah.
that tongue. I mean,
may
athletes
be an
get with
honest
these
conversation
insure
with
that
the
tongue.
insurance
Somebody
agent.
write a
but-
policy on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get some Lloyd's people involved for you.
There you
Insure
go.
That
Yeah.
tongue.
I like it. It is.
Sounds like a pickup
It's a
line.
master one.
Master tongue.
All right.
Oh,
I'll
I
see
need to
y'all
go to
later.
bed too.
Enjoyed it.
I
Oh
got.
boy.
See you.
This is
I'm
good.
out. fellas.
I've had a long weekend.
All right. Peace out, boys.
All right. See y'all
Long
later.
weekend.
Jordan,
It's still
Brian.
See you guys.
All right. Everybody.